Hey everybody, Shoreline here. We're going to be switching things up a little bit. We are celebrating 1,000 downloads today. We are recording this episode when that happened, and I just want to start by saying happy Thanksgiving. That is when we're going to release this to everybody. However, Patreon is going to see this first, so thank you guys for being such great supporters of the podcast. We definitely look forward to more with you guys and having more content for you guys, and this is the first part of that. This episode is really going to be talking about the podcast, talking about us, talking about stories that you guys have submitted to us, and it's been a lot of fun interacting with you guys and really getting to know the people that are supporting us and that are listening to us, and we just want to thank you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you guys have been such monumental support. We cannot stress just how thankful we are to all of you. We would not have hit this milestone, and we didn't think we were going to hit this milestone as quickly as we did had it not been for all of you out there, from supporting us on Patreon, sharing, listening and sharing, downloading our podcast, and also the list goes on. It's just about, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, in the short amount of time that we've decided that we were going to start a podcast, to starting to post episodes to all of our listeners out there, I mean, it's just been it's been a rocket ship upwards. I mean, like Six said, way ahead of where we thought we would be at this time, and we just can't stress how grateful we are for your support, patronage. You know, we'll keep making the content as long as you guys keep giving us the thumbs up.
So I've been getting a couple of questions about my call sign, like how I got my call sign. One of it was actually on an episode, and I'm not sure if you guys are going to have heard that yet, or they kind of implied it. So my call sign, it wasn't specifically given to me like the typical military or typical fashion of how you get a call sign, like you fuck something up or you did something that was just off the wall funny or whatever the case may be. So my story, as far as mine, it's kind of like it's a 4-part explanation. I wish it was 6. That would have made more sense. But so the first one of all is my call sign is 6 because in my immediate family, my circle is 6 people. And that was one of my big drivers as me as a person, me as a character, is my family comes first. And I want to be able to put that forward and pay it forward through them that, hey, I'm thinking about you. My name means you pretty much every step of the way. And the second of it all is, I don't know if you guys have heard this or hear me mention it, but I'm a crazy huge Star Wars geek. I freaking love Star Wars. It's like next to comics, that's like my number one thing. And specifically with Star Wars, I'm all about these 2 races in the series. If some of you are familiar, it'd be the Mandalorians and the clones, specifically the clones. And if you're not familiar with it, clones are exactly what they are. They're copies of one singular person. And when they were first made, they were just given numbers, like 1 through 3 trillion, or whatever the case may be. So how they would differentiate each other is through different nicknames. One of my favorites ones, his name was Fives, like plural 5s. He got that because his numbers were literally all 5s. He's like, I like the number 5. That's freaking awesome. And it kind of blended between both liking that character and who I am as a character. And then voila, Vidi Vidi Vici, 6 was born. And the third and fourth one comes from my background as a military veteran, where 6 is a radio call sign for a unit's leader. And it's typically an officer. Sometimes it's a sergeant or whatever. Usually in sergeants, their call sign is 7 instead of 6. But 7 kind of sounds like I have a gambling problem. So that didn't roll too well. But 6 definitely was, because I was in charge of people. I have done some stuff, and that was actually my call sign over the radio for some degree at some point in time. So hey, 6 stuck. And then also from the military, this be the 4th point, is because there's a saying that everyone says where I got your 6 or watch your 6. So that's been my character throughout all of my existence. Is I got your back one way or another. I'm gonna stick out for you. I'm gonna stand up for you. And this is kind of like how we have this podcast for you all, the individuals. Is where we got your six. We're gonna tell your story. We're gonna give you guys the voice of your experiences, and then let everyone know that planes don't fly because of magic, or it does fly and we're the magic, kind of thing. So that's my story.
All right, everyone. Well, I'm MBP, or Man Bear Pig, as it's fully spelled out. My story is a little more comical. I was on my first deployment. I'm not a military veteran, but I did military contracting. So I was on my first ever deployment to Iraq circa 2009, specifically the summer of that year. And it had been about several weeks of about 125 to 130 degrees. And we weren't working in nice air-conditioned hangars, nice facilities, as one could probably imagine. We were working in what they call clamshells. So those who have been deployed kind of know what I'm talking about. But essentially, they're canvas covered buildings or structures that open up in the front like a clamshell with a winch system. So we were in the hangar, been working for a couple weeks in that kind of temperatures, and finally got to the point one day where it was just, we were doing an engine change right after the aircraft had landed. So everything's hot to the touch. Was just sweating like crazy to the point where you could take off your shirt and wring it out. Pretty gross, I know, but that's the reality of the situation. So I was working in the hangar doing an engine change. Again, took off my shirt, hung it over a piece of GSE to dry out, and I just continued working without a shirt on. My lead at the time had come walking out into the hangar and was like, "What the hell? Why don't you have a shirt on?" I'm like, "That's hot out here, sweating like crazy. What do you want me to do?" They're like, Jesus, it's like a man bear pig out here in the hangar. So that was right around the time of that South Park episode that had come out where Al Gore kept telling everybody that there was a man bear pig loose in the episode. So that's what he referred to me as a man bear pig, because I am of German descent and a rather hairy individual. So, all you ladies, delicious. I know. So anyways, yeah, so Man Bear Pig stuck, and that's how it came to be. And for the rest of my career, it's been one of those call signs where it's so ridiculous that no matter what you do or what you mess up, you can't change the original because the original is just too good.
Yeah, man, I can understand that. I'm a hairy individual myself. So Shoreline here. My call sign is Shoreline, and I got that from an audio gig that I was on, and it was kind of a hazing experience, and it was great. I loved every minute of it. So I was doing this festival that we do every year. It's a big food festival in Seattle. It's a big free festival, so it's all sorts of walks of life. It's wonderful, wonderful time. It was my first year ever doing the show. And I was the runner, so I was the guy that was running between all the stages, making sure that everybody was staffed, making sure that nobody needed help, making sure everybody had everything they needed. So I get there on the first morning of the festival. So we had a load-in day where we had all the stages set up, and then we went home. We come back the next day to put on the show. So we show up a couple hours early because we show up at 10 a.m. because the first band gets there at 11, then the show starts at 12. So 10 a.m. rolls around. We're there. One of the monitor guys is like, "Hey man, I need some Shoreline. It's like tie line but bigger." And for those of you who don't know what tie line is, it's like a strong string that is used to like tie tarps and tie various things. So what he was referring to, or what it seemed like he was referring to, was like a rope. And I was like, "Okay, cool. I'll try to go find some." So I'm running all over the place. He goes, "Well, go check Buddha's stage." And shout out to Buddha. He was a monitor guy for Alice in Chains and true legend in the industry. Love that dude. So I go over to Buddha's stage. He's stage managing over there. Say, "Hey Buddha, do you have any Shoreline?" He goes, "Oh no, man, we we gave it back to Oz. I went to go see my mentor, which is my buddy Ozzy. So I go over to his stage and I'm like, "Hey Ozzy, do you have any shoreline?" He goes, "No, man, we ran out. So go check Nate's stage." I was like, "Okay, cool." So keep in mind, these stages are not close together. Like I'm having to run from one side of the park to the other side of the park to down the street to like, so it's a ways. I mean, so I get to Nate's stage. Nate is on the jazz stage and he goes, "I don't have any, but I do have some tie line. Go take this to Scotty. See if this is what he needs." Okay, cool. So I take the tie line to Scotty. Scotty says, "Oh man, this is too small. This just isn't going to work. It's not going to hold." Okay. I'll go see if I can try to find something. So I bring the tie line back to Nate and he goes, "Well, go check the cook stage," which is a stage that we just kind of set up. We don't really touch it at all. It's manned by one of their own guys. I think his name was Russ. So I go and talk to Russ and I'm like, "Hey Russ, it's, my name's Jeff," introduce myself to him. And he is like, "Okay, so what are you looking for?" I'm like, "I'm looking for some shoreline." Not exactly sure what it looks like. He goes, "Oh no, don't worry. I got just the thing." He hands me this giant rope that's probably 3 inches thick and like 30 feet long. And it's got a giant metal hook on it. And I'm like, "Oh, that's gotta be it." So I take this heavy ass bundle of rope and I go run it over to Scotty's stage. And Scotty just starts dying laughing. And he goes, "You fucking found some goddamn shoreline. That's not at all what my intention was." And so he looks over at his stage manager and he goes, "Hey, Fire, can you show me where the shoreline is?" She goes, "Well, I can't walk you there, but it's about 1.5 miles down the road." And that is how I got the name Shoreline.
Shoreline. Did the impossible.
Yep, did the impossible.
That's
and
awesome.
laughed my ass off afterwards. They did the same trick on a kid at the previous festival, and he did not take it quite as well.
Oh man!
I mean, you have to laugh at yourself in those situations because what can you do? You know what I mean? There's nothing you can do. It just you got to find some. Like that's the job. I got to get it done.
The job
that would have been even
done.
better is if you would have went 1.5 miles down the road with a jar and scooped up some sand and brought it back. Here you go. Like if you beat them at their own game, here you go.
Yeah,
that would have been awesome.
That would have been.
I mean, you still beat them at their own game, but.
Right.
Like to get the joke right back on him, like that would have been hysterical.
Found your shoreline for you, friend. All 60 feet of it.
I think there's a seashell in there. You're welcome.
Good times, though. Good times.
Fantastic times.
Heck yeah.
So Six, the next thing we wanted to talk about, I know that we've received some stories on, through email and through social media and stuff. You should. I think we should share some.
Oh, most definitely. So I put it out there, or actually, we put it out there on all our social media outlets. Like, hey, tell us some of your stories. We want to hear some of it. We want to share it. We want to react to it. And some of the stuff we got was just off the wall.
Yeah,
crazy.
Man, you guys get into some shit.
Yeah, you guys. Some of you literally. So one story was from a patron of ours. Matter of fact, he was a former Black Hawk crew chief, and he transitions to his first civilian job. And when he goes to his civilian job, first day on the job, they say, "Hey, we got to issue one of these planes." And he goes, "All right." And he goes over there. They give him like this long screwdriver. Like, what the hell is this for? And he gets to the aircraft, and he turns to find out that the aircraft in question had a leaking lavatory valve, aka the plumbing valve for the shit water stuck. So
the blue juice, the
Smurf water, So Here he is, day one of the job, former U8 former Black Hawk crew chief with this 2 foot long screwdriver, just chipping away at this ice puck of shit water,
Oh God!
Wow!
Man.
What did I do to deserve this?
Well, like, what's the end game, right? Like, okay, you're gonna get it unclogged, then what's it gonna do?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I could imagine that not have ended well. So imagine that, like, that it's freezing cold and you're chipping away at ice, and then you find out that that ice is the Smurf water with all the swimmers in it throughout however long this flight was. Disgusting.
Ugh.
Disgusting. A second story was a similar one where it's always there must be something with lavatory. MVP, is this like a common problem with lavatories that they always have issues?
Yeah, labs are a tricky system. They're an overcomplicated toilet, essentially.
Yeah.
And as you can imagine, the aircraft, they fly at high altitudes. Water and cold temperatures tend to freeze.
Yep.
And that causes adverse effects. Anybody who's from a cold climate knows that your water pipes in the wintertime kind of suffer if they're not insulated properly. And the same goes for aircraft that carry people.
Yeah.
Or at least a lot of people.
So this other story, it's similar to that, right? Like, don't forget to winterize your pipes. So a similar story, the same aircraft, having lavatory issues again. They forgot to winterize their pipe. And so they did the smart thing. They turned off the lav, which I think anyone who has any sort of experience in plumbing would probably do before they start breaking open pipes. So it's turned off. He's going into the service port and he sticks his head into it. I can't imagine how shitty that is already. He sticks his head into it, and then someone had the bright idea to purge the lavatory tank. And
oh my God! At the same time.
Yeah, I just.
Oh,
he's sticking his head in. He's sticking his head in there. Someone decides to purge the lavatory tank. Mind you, you're putting outside pressure through this line, and he got the Smurf shower of a lifetime.
Oh my God!
lumpy water and all at that. God, no, Jesus,
no.
So for a lot of you who have never done aviation anything, which I think there's really not that many patrons that don't, or listeners that don't, imagine like you're sticking your head into the hole of a porta shitter or a porta potty, and then someone decides to hook up an air hose to the outside and then blow it. And so you're just getting this geyser of fucking shit water and like imagine that, like Hep C everywhere.
The worst part of this for me is that because I've dealt with lab systems, is I can smell it. Like I'm smelling it right now while we're talking about it. And that's why I'm.
That is like MVP said. That is how murders happen. Like somebody's getting their ass beat.
Somebody's going to pay for this injustice I've suffered here today.
Now, another patron sent a story with almost the exact same scenario, but the guy who got the geyser of Smurf water didn't shower. He's like, I'm done. I'm going home, and he fell asleep like that. Like, why?
How do you just fall asleep like
why?
that?
Like,
how can you willingly just like? Yep, I know I was covered in this abomination of fluids today. And I'm going to get in my vehicle all dirty, drive to my house, and lay in my bed all dirty. That person's got some other mental issues that need addressed.
No, absolutely. I mean, he's probably like patient zero for all sorts of shit. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. If you guys can see my face, I'm like shivering right now. Like that's disgusting.
So what I'm understanding is that we're getting a lot of really shitty stories.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of people had crappy days.
Yeah, literal shitstorm,
This is not a pun-free podcast by any means.
By any means. No.
By any means. Now, another story that I received. This was actually from a direct message from one of our social media handles. It was one of those like, what would you do? It's like one of those, what would you do for a Klondike bar stories, but in most jobs where you're working long ass hours, you would do stories to leave early. So it's, what would you do for a day off kind of thing? And they made this kid snort a line of piss to go home early. Now,
they what?
I'm asking like, why would you do that? And then how did you go about getting the piss? Well,
there's a lot of logistics and questions with this one. First of all,
I have many questions.
How did you come up with that as a primary punishment? Somebody's been thinking about that one for a while.
Right. And then, so like, is is it straight from the tap? Like you just like dropped your drawers and then just peed a line, or did you have someone pee in a cup and then just spilled it? Or
Yeah, is it even your own piss? Is it?
I don't know. He wouldn't say, but that's. I would assume. Hopefully, you went home for that.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. It's not the person that snorted the piss that submitted this story, because nobody would ever want to talk about that.
Nobody would ever admit that, right?
No,
yeah, you couldn't.
No, that's just disgusting.
So do you have to get like a bendy straw and rip it off the top of the toolbox? Or, I mean, are we in a clean room? What are we? How do you? Okay, let's add in some other stuff. Did they have asparagus last night for dinner?
Did they take their multivitamins that day? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Were they drinking endless amounts of energy drinks? And it was neon green in color.
Yeah,
Oh my god!
It looks like antifreeze. Like
Right through the movie Dodgeball. Is it necessary for me to drink my own urine? No, but it's sterile and I like the taste.
It gets me a day off. Apparently,
I can't even imagine. Like,
there is no amount of money nor no amount of hours that I would want to skip out on to justify that. There's no way.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things I'd probably do, but there are definite limitations.
That is not one of them.
Yeah,
that is not one of them.
But so I might add. So not only was it about a day off, it was to settle $100 debt. $100, dude. I'll mow your lawn for a month.
For a month, yeah, something. I'll wash your car. Like, I'll do your laundry. I don't care.
Like,
I don't care.
An extra shift for you. Like,
I don't care.
I'll cover the weekend work. Like, I don't care.
I'll be the on-call tech or whatever the hell. Not snort. Not like do a line of piss. No. Think
about let's just go to the mental aspect of this, right? Think about how mentally messed up the guy who came up with that punishment. And then think about even worse, the guy who says, okay, I'll do that. What traumatic experiences did that kid go through in life to lead him up to the point where he's snorting a line of urine off of that? Now, what was the surface even? Is it off the bathroom floor? Under the urinal? Is it on top of a toolbox? Did they go in a cup and it drop a twisty straw in a cup? Oh,
right. I mean, to be the guy who like shat himself, but not the guy who snorted piss, or you can be the TikTok Marine. Be the TikTok Marine, not the guy who snorted a line of piss. Yeah,
that's it. That and forever and for always, that is that guy's legacy.
Yeah,
that's what. Doesn't matter what he would have done in his unit. That would have been good. He was still the guy that ripped a line of piss.
For sure. Like, maybe the dude went on to be a legend, and like, good for you, and you snorted a line of piss. So here's my ultimate question to you guys. The ultimate case of would you rather with these stories. Would you rather be showered in Smurf water, or would you rather snort a line of piss?
Is suicide an option?
Can I just
opt out?
So here's my thought, right? If you get Smurf watered, aren't you effectively doing the same thing as snorting piss?
So here's what I would say, though.
Yeah, but that's unwilling.
Okay, so here's okay. I'm gonna jump in and I'm gonna be the first to answer. I would rip the line of piss. For one, you're probably gonna get one quick bump, and then you're gonna go and try to blow it right out of your nose because it's just going to burn or something else, right? It's an unnatural. It's like when you get into a pool and you get some chlorine up your nose and you get that kind of burning. I imagine it's going to be like that.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. Is the worst part? I think I would have to agree with you because otherwise you're just going to involuntarily get shit and piss and Smurf water up your nose.
Right. And so why I say this, right? There's a reasoning to my logic. All those who are listening, and all of our listeners are probably like, these guys are cooked. The reason why I say that is when I was working on corporate jets, I was working with a guy. He was born and raised in the Philippines, and his first job out of high school in the Philippines is working for Philippine Airlines in Manila. And his shop lead back then, the guy who was training him up doing the OJT, the on-the-job training stuff, dropped a tool into the lav tank of a 747 one day.
No.
And so to get it out, he said his boss just reached down in the tank and started fishing around with his bare hand until he found the tool and pulled it back out.
No.
Fast forward a month later, the guy becomes severely ill, contracted hepatitis C from doing that. I know you can probably get something from urine, but I don't think Hep C is one of those. From my limited knowledge of diseases.
Yep.
So that's the logic behind me, is because I've heard that story and I know that fecal matter can carry a lot of horrendous things, and so that's my logic behind it. Sorry for all of those who are throwing up violently.
Right? And I guess credit to the guy that did this action. I mean, maybe his other option was to get a Smurf shower.
Yeah.
So
I don't think
he
so.
Probably
though.
took the lesser of two evils. You know?
I don't think so. But
well, first of all, was it a military guy? 6?
Yes, it was actually.
Okay, and let's just So what aircraft was he working on?
That I don't know.
I'm gonna go out. What branch can we say?
I think he said he was either Navy or Marines, one of those two. So I'd imagine the whole idea of a lavatory is probably not an option.
I'm going to say it's probably not an option. So he just willingly, it was that choice, or give $100. And friend, $100 isn't worth that. I wonder if he's having adverse effects.
I'm sure
today.
he would. I'm sure he would.
Like, what you think there's been some 10 years later, some fall like. He's got this oh yeah, my right nostril continually leaks. I can't figure out why. I just got to walk around with a cotton swab in it all day. Or maybe he never got a nosebleed in his life, and now he gets them once or twice a week.
Right, I'd imagine.
Maybe talking about the kink thing. Maybe he didn't have a kink thing before that, and that opened up a whole new world for him.
Yeah, right.
A whole new disgusting world.
It's
Again, not kink shaming. It just ain't what I'm into.
Right. I honestly, man, I would go with MVP, and I would rather choose death, but that's one of those corners that you just can't get out of. It's like, would you rather sit on a cake and eat a dildo, or would you sit on a dildo and eat a cake? They're both bad options. Why do I gotta pick one?
Why is this my only options?
but as MVP said, I would rather take the running nose for life and possibly tasting the piss than to potentially get
hepatitis C and die.
Hepatitis C and or AIDS and or typhoid and whatever other chemical bullshit that's in 55.
And actually, you know what? That former coworker of mine, he did say about 5 years later, his lead, or his boss at that time, he did pass away from the Hep C. Yeah. Not to bring down the severity of it, but again, just to justify my logic behind it. Right. It's either a runny nose or death.
Yeah, and then you go
a runny nose,
and then you go back to the guy who didn't shower after you got the Smurf shower. Dude,
yeah, what? How can you even?
Why?
I can barely lay in my own bed after sweating. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I can't go to sleep feeling like that. So I could. How do you?
Yeah.
How do you? Again, there's this is branching off into a mental illness conversation. I feel because there's a lot of traumatic people out there. I'm guessing if that's what they chose to do.
I would imagine he probably worked 75 hours in a 2-day period or some shit like that, but
worked more hours than actually were available. Yeah. He had a time warp.
That'd be my only reason. But even at that, I couldn't do it. I would get that third life from Overwatch and just get revived just long enough to take a shower and then just kind of sit there pondering life that I got.
Hottest shower you could ever imagine, right? like boiling, skin almost boiling.
Right.
Well, you have to. I mean,
you would have to
peel off that first layer of skin. It's got to go.
Right. And you're showering with a toilet brush, because you need that abrasiveness. Still not clean. You
decide to take an acid bath.
I mean, I would, but
you would. I mean, even because think about that. Even after the hottest shower, the hardest bristle brush, the most abrasive soap you could find, you might even take valve lapping compound and decide to scrub it all over yourself just to try to feel some semblance of clean. But I feel like even after that, you would
showers with steel wool.
Yeah. Or the pumice wands for a toilet bowl,
Yeah. Or you just have the local street sweeper truck drive over you just to knock that top layer. You know what I mean?
Right? Yeah. I mean, dude, that's gross, man. For all you guys who have submitted those stories, if that happened to you, I am 100% sorry for you, and I hope you've grown past that. because I can't even like I can't even.
Yeah, I mean, like working AOG stuff, I know I've been called out for some laboratory issues. And you're like, oh, well, the button, the flush button doesn't work. And you're like, first of all, every time I'll get a lab call, I'm not going to lie to you, I was a dirtbag about it. I'm like, oh, nope, I don't have time to get to that, or I'm not. I would just refuse. Nah, I ain't doing it. It ain't me. You can send that crap back to the OEM for all I care.
Oh, yeah.
Literally send that crap back to the OEM. But but so they were like, no, it's just the flush button. Okay, that's up inside. I can deal with that. I'll sanitize the area before. And I put gloves on and mask. Like I was smart about it. You know what I mean? I wasn't barehanding anything. So I changed out the button one time. And, all right, let's ops check it. Press the button. No flush.
Well, bye, everybody. That's the extent I'm going to give you.
I reported back to maintenance control. I was like, that didn't fix the problem. Like, okay, troubleshoot a little further, then we'll cut you a new MAF. And I'm like, oh no. I'm done. I've done what I've agreed to, and there'll be no more. And they're like, okay, we'll just put it on the MEL list. Yep, already done. I had no intentions of ever fixing this thing.
It's like a specialist. Like, sorry, we're gonna have to refer you to a specialist.
Yeah, you're gonna need to take this one back to Orlando to citation services. I'm not touching it.
That's funny. So switching gears, because I'm sure that everybody's tired of the shitty stories we have. So another thing we wanted to cover while we were on here was the future of what kind of guests and topics we want to talk about, and during this whole time we also want to stress that if you have a topic that you want talked about, or if you're thinking of a guest, or if you want to be a guest, please reach out to us. We would love to have you, and we would love to talk about what you guys want to listen to, because ultimately that's who's listening to it is you guys. Yeah,
most definitely. And guest wise, what we're planning on lining up is we're looking to bring on a financial specialist to kind of talk about you as the individual, you as the mechanic, technician, pilot, whatever the case may be. Even if you're not tied into aviation, just someone to kind of give us a little bit of money smarts, especially the way this year's been going. A lot of people have been having to really pinch pennies as far as their available funds. I know I myself have had to cut back on a lot of things. And
sure, I mean, yeah, the stuff you've been spending on for fun, like taking the family out and doing things, that's all had to get. Well, first of all, everything's been closed, right? So you haven't been able to do that things. But the money you did have allocated to spend on those things had to be used then to pay bills and stuff, because just of the way the economy has been this year.
Right. So, we want to bring someone on like that to educate us on that, and then just how to plan for the future, because you never what the hell knows, man. Like the way everything's going, it looks okay now, and then it's just going to be like 2008 where everything plummets and your dollar ain't worth shit no more, your house ain't worth shit no more. So that's just something for a lot of us to get a little bit of smarts on. We also want to bring in some people who have more on the maintenance control side of things from other aspects, from the AOG side of the house, from the FAA side of the house, the military side of the house, just someone other than our opinion, so you guys can hear just what the dynamic is.
Yeah, you can hear other people in the industry. From all facets of the industry. Like Six said, we don't want it to just be us and our opinion or only our personal experiences. We want you to hear from everybody, because that's how you get better information, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And, and some of those people, they've had to do some kind of transition from one company space to another, or in some cases from the military to civilian, stuff like that. There's going to be gaps, and there's going to be issues that you're going to run into. So we want to bring their opinion and get it out to you guys, because, maybe you guys might be going through this right now, or you have gone through it and just want to see how they turn a shitty situation, shitty situation into a good one,
And with that, hear from other facets of the industry, just like the stories we just got done telling, after a day, like some of those patrons have expressed, you may be contemplating a career change after that day. I know I would be. So you might say, man, I like aviation, but I just don't ever want to do a job like this again. And you can hear from somebody else who works on the helo side of things, or, as a contractor side of things, and say, oh man, I had no idea that a job like that even existed in this industry,
Right,
and
yeah.
and that opens your eyes and doors to so many other opportunities.
Right. And we also want to bring on, dare I say her name, Jacqueline. She's been probably one of the largest helps in us having the podcast and as a whole, from kicking our asses to get it done to showing us the process of how to get it done, hosting us so we can actually do it, And then she's also the kind that consults executive level businesses, so whatever she spits out, this is stuff that CEOs, presidents, vice presidents, corporations listen to. So if you guys are in a corporation and you're of a level of influence, it might be something you can listen to. Or if you're looking to start something, that's something that's a guest that we can really boost up and help you out with your side of the house.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a massive help in getting this off the ground.
Yep.
Just the support platform that she's provided has again made us be able to get to the point of 1,000 downloads. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so many hundreds of followers already. Like, just so much further ahead than we ever thought we could be. And big thanks to Jacqueline for boosting us up and being able to allow us to accomplish that.
Most def. Jacqueline, if you're hearing this, or we're gonna, if anything, we'll send this to you direct, like over the phone. Like, you've been monumental help for us and for being able to do the things that we're doing. With that, I know starting the podcast, we stepped into realms that we had no idea what the hell we were doing. We've never done something like this before, or it's been a long while since we've done something like this before. Let's start with Shoreline, for instance, because Shoreline here was a live sound expertise, and then he's jumping into a more audio production role.
Yeah. I did some practice with like radio commercials and stuff like that when I was in school, but that was, 4 or 5 years ago now. And it has been a big learning curve for me. It's skills that I have, but it's stuff I haven't used in a long time. And as anybody knows, if you don't use it, you lose it. So, those are 1 minute long or your 1 minute long advertisements, not, an hour plus long podcast. So it's been a lot of learning the tools of the trade and learning good practices. And I certainly hope that the episodes have sounded better and better and better as we've gone on. So some of the things that I've learned personally is kind of processing chains and being able to use compressors and stuff properly and being able to process these guys' voices very well. And I feel like I'm starting to get the hang of it. And thank you guys for being patient with me and joining me in this learning curve. And I certainly hope you guys have enjoyed it. And I can't wait to make it even better.
Yeah, as we said about Jacqueline, Shoreline is another crucial part to the success of this. If it was left up to me, I know to me specifically, this would have crashed before it even got off the ground. So massive thanks to Shoreline for trying to cut out my dragon breath and clicks and pops in the background.
yeah, specifically mine, because I was 100% guilty of a lot of that. So again, thanks, Shoreline. Like, I can only imagine like how many times you beat your head on the wall when you see these raw footage.
These guys are so terrible.
Man, there were only a couple episodes, and I'll share a couple of quick stories, real quick, if you don't mind. So,
please do.
So, like episode 1, true episode 1, not episode 0. Episode 1, in the background, you can hear a bunch of like clicks and pops, and that was actually Six's. He had a water bottle in his hand, and it was kind of a nervous tick of his. So I had to say, "Hey, man, get that water bottle out of your hands." We've already recorded 1 episode, but like it was this really funny moment of just like, man, what is that? Oh, that is what that sound is. That microphone is really that sensitive. Okay, we need to take that out. So, stuff like that. And MVP mentioned his dragon breath, and honestly, that was only a problem once, where you're breathing into the microphone super hard and stuff like that. But the bigger issue that I've had, and we've tried to find many different ways around this, and we'll get into more of how we're going to fix it in the future a little later. But obviously we're doing this all over Zoom calls and stuff like that because we're not in the same area, plus COVID, plus all of these things, various schedule conflicts. So internet connection can be a huge hurdle, and so it was quite a few episodes before we were like, okay, how can we navigate around Jordan's internet connection? So, we started having him record on his phone separate from the podcast. That way we can line them up, and then I'll use his phone audio instead of his, Zoom call audio because it cuts out. And as you guys, I'm sure, have heard in the first couple or 2 or 3 episodes, there were some prominent times where he would just like cut out. And so it's been a lot of learning experience in terms of just kind of finding workarounds, which is a lot of what I do in the live industry and will continue to do once I get back to the live industry and once it's a thing again.
Yeah, for me, the learning part for me is I've never really sat in front of a microphone before. And so as we're sitting here, my nervous tick is I rub my hands, like my hands together, and it's a nervous, there's nobody else around me right now. But that's my nervous tick because I don't like the sound of my own voice. So when I hear, post production editing and all that kind of stuff, and it's just like, nails on a chalkboard. And I can't believe anybody would want to hear me talk.
And that's funny because you have one of the best like radio voices out of any of us. And I cannot wait to get in person and get a good microphone on you and we'll have some good fun with it. And honestly, not being happy with how you sound is a totally natural thing. I don't know a single person that has walked into a studio or heard themselves on a recording and said, man, I really like my voice, especially when it's their first time. It takes a lot of getting used to. It's very unnatural. I mean,
there's even been times where I'll send the wife a voice message and then she'll play it back in front of me. And I'm like, is that me? Yeah, that's you. Why did you marry me?
It's like, I feel like I should,
know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's terrible.
Like I should be apologizing to everyone I've ever spoken word to because it's just, I can only imagine the assault it's giving to their ears,
and another big learning thing for me was navigating the social medias I'm not a big social media person. I have them, but I don't really post. I don't put pictures up of family and things we do. My wife, on the other hand, is a big proponent of that. So she's actually been a big help in me in finding all these different pages to post and promote and those kind of efforts and creating posts and how I should word things and music to play in the background of it or whatever else. So, big shout out to her as well. But that's something that's not in my wheelhouse because I've never put any effort or thought it was never an important part of my life or that important that I became proficient in the social media aspects. So that's been a massive undertaking for me because even now, like putting a post, I'm like, oh, come on, nobody, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel weird. Like, hey, like my post, which I know that's what it takes to get it shared, to gain popularity, to get the message out there so people can find it and listen, whatever else. It's just never been my thing.
Yep. I agree. I fully agree.
That's been a challenge, like this last episode we just published. It was 4 a.m. and I was like, man, I can't sleep. What's going on? And it was 4:00 Friday morning. And I was like, man, what's going on? Oh yeah, that's right. I just published an episode and haven't put out a post. I should go I need to go make a Facebook post at 4 a.m. It's one of those things. It's like, man, I can't figure out what's
worrying
wrong.
About stuff like that.
Right. But I will also say that it's been a really fun adventure, and these guys really, really helped make it so.
Yeah. And as far as me, I mean, I've stepped into all sorts of stuff that I've never done, never experienced, never had any sort of friends who did any of this stuff. Like, just figuring out what to do with a podcast. How do I make one? What is it supposed to look like? What is it supposed to sound like? All this stuff. I had no clue. And Shoreline and MVP have been monumental help in this because they at least listened to podcasts before before creating this, I listened to zero podcasts. I don't know where to find it. I don't know where to go to. None of that. And what started me piquing the interest of it was actually Jacqueline and her partner Brian in their podcast. This is what we do. This is what we're talking about. And they said it in such a way where it just sounded like a conversation, just like a bunch of people having a casual dialogue, talking shit along the way and stuff like that. So that's the kind of stuff I want to do. I want to be able to put the information out there, put the voices out there, and then give you, the listener, a microphone so you could tell your story, but not sound lectury, you know?
Yeah, so not like a TED Talk or something.
Yeah,
you know?
so that was like my biggest hurdle, one of my biggest hurdles. And then you could hear it in my voice in the first 3 episodes where I couldn't find my pace. I talk very fast. You hear me breathing a lot. Shoreline mentioned my nervous tics and whatnot because, like, I'm trying to like be excited of what I'm talking about, but not sound so excited where you can hear me. You can hear my heartbeat through the microphone. You know, so that was a big hurdle for me. And it's weird because when I talk to you in person, it's very different. But I'm talking to invisibility. It's like I'm talking to a wall. Had it not been for the video that we see through our calls, I'd be like, if you were just like outside looking in, you would see like one of those people when Bluetooth first came out, they just like walking around talking like, who the fuck is this person talking to? You know?
Yeah.
You know. And then another huge hurdle for me was like just getting all the networking stuff set up, like the Facebook pages, the Instagram pages, the website. Oh my fucking God, the website. I've never, for all you guys out there who do web design and or like some kind of social media design, kudos to you guys, man. Like, you guys deserve all the money that you asked for as far as making that stuff happen, because I had no fucking clue how to do any of that shit. And the closest I came to this was MySpace, when you had like those background generators where you like searching Raiders background with background music, and then it spits out this laundry list of ones and zeros and all this shit. You just like copy paste into your profile and it blinks and plays a video or whatever the fuck it was. That was completely foreign to me. I had no fucking clue how to do any of it. And I spent almost 96 hours trying to figure out how to do it all. And it was kind of like a point of accomplishment when I saw all that stuff come up, especially the website, because that took freaking forever to learn how to do, to make it secure, to have it on Google and all that stuff. So, I mean, I don't want to geek out too much about it because it hurt my head just trying to learn it.
I got to tell you, one of the biggest things that I appreciate is your networking. I mean, just reaching out to anybody and everybody. No idea that they even who they are, what they do. Just a random like for one of our social medias and reach out. You know, hey, you know, what is it that you do and this and that, and you just start those conversations, and then next thing you know, we have them as a guest,
right?
And that's pretty awesome because again, back to my social media or lack of social media skills. You know, I'd send like a real formal email that probably sounds like a robot, and they're kind of like, "This is spam." Delete. You know what I mean?
and honestly, that's how it sounded for me when I start that conversation. Those cold call or cold message conversations. They're like, "Who the fuck is this dude?" Right? And it took a little bit of time to kind of warm up. Like, no, I'm not a bot. I am not fake. I'm not some random generated message from somebody's whatever. And I was fortunate enough to to be connected with a bunch of people, mainly through Jacqueline and Brian again, to kind of at least have that icebreaker with some of them. And it just kind of branched out from there. Those cold calls were pretty rough. They were pretty rough, but as we come along, we tell them what we're all about. As you, the listeners, can totally hear like how we are as far as what we plan to do and what we are all about. And they slowly start to warm up to it. They say, yeah, you can do this. And all in all, this podcast and what all the people we've talked to in general, it's all about lifting each other up. It's all about gaining exposure. It's all about helping each other with whatever gaps or issues that they're having with or going through. And it's just been beneficial ever since. So that's just been a monumental help for us in general, and then for the people who we've been networking through along the way. I can go on more and more, but that could be an episode on its own. Like, what are your banes of existence?
No, and we really could. We could do a whole episode just based on stuff we've learned, stories that have happened during the podcast, stuff like that. And we are approaching when we would normally be ending an episode, but I think that there's a couple more things that we definitely want to cover in this, and one of which is the giveaways that we have planned coming up. I'll talk about one of them. We have these really cool patches that are our logo, and that one's going to be a Facebook giveaway, but we also have some really cool stuff coming for just our Patreon subscribers, and Six or MVP, if you guys want to touch on those. I think that we got some cool stuff coming up.
I'll let Six chime in on that.
So for patrons only, and this is exclusive only to you guys because you've been such a monumental help, we got hats along the way. It's gonna where it ranges from the trucker style hat, beanies, and maybe flex fits, depending.
Which I gotta say, the trucker style hats are choice, in my opinion. And the beanies are nice too, but I've been wearing that trucker hat for a while, or at least a week now that we've gotten them, and I love it.
Very, very, very choice, especially with the seasons that are coming up. Winter is coming, so we're gonna start transitioning to the more insulated of things. But hats are going to be a thing for you, the Patreon. The pens, oh dude, the pens that we got lined up for you guys.
I'm not a pen guy, but Six just got us a set of pens, and these pens are really fucking cool.
They're so cool. So cool. I look at mine all the time. It's like, wow, I can't believe.
So real quick, Who were those made by again?
Okay, so the hats were made by this veteran-owned business. It's called Southpaw Laser Concepts. They're based in Texas. It's veteran-owned, small business-owned. So we're all about supporting small businesses too, because they're going through a hit in 2020.
Especially veteran-owned.
Right. Yeah. And then the pens were created by this business called Trash Panda Tactical. Funny, right? Trash Panda. and I'm not going to go into full detail to give a little bit of suspense for you guys, but they are choice. They are prime grade. And it's made by, again, another veteran-owned small business. And we've had them engraved by another small business. This one's here local to the area we're at right now. So those are some of the stuff that we're going to give you, the Patreon, exclusively, that no one else will get them other than whoever wins the giveaway. And then we also have some coasters available for you guys. Also, again, made by small businesses. All the stuff we're trying to theme it out where it's supporting some kind of small business or veteran-owned business. So we're trying to keep to that theme of raising each other up. So as I said, hats, pens, the coasters, beanies, possibly flex fit. And then we're also having some new shirt ideas that we're going to be pushing out because of the seasons and because of some of the newer themes that we've been receiving.
And did you want to shout out who does our shirt, creates the shirts and stuff for us?
Almost Def. So our shirts is produced by, it's called Really Designs. It's a husband and wife team that makes all the shirts, makes all the material, all that stuff. Again, a small business, and the owner is a Navy veteran. His wife is a military spouse, as I said. So these guys have been tremendous in just crunching out all that design, all that work. Like, they're the ones who basically helped us make the design and stuff like that. So again, exclusive to you, the Patreon. And then for also those of you who are in the higher tiers, like the flight inspector, producer tiers, you guys are going to be getting first dibs access to all of it. And then some of which are going to be at a certain discount because of your support.
Yeah. And we have some, like everybody has said, we have some really exciting stuff coming up, and none of it would be possible without your guys' support on Patreon. We greatly appreciate that. And the more that we can create as far as patron support, can really allow us to do some things that we never, thought possible. One of the big things that we want to do, one of the things I'm most excited for, is our first main goal, is to get about $1,500 to invest into professional grade microphones, as well as me being able to take a trip down and seeing these guys so that we can record in person, because that's going to greatly improve the quality of the podcast. And I think you guys will get a lot more bang for your buck as far in terms of being the listener. And I know these guys are also excited for it.
Yeah, just to having that high quality. We've listened to some samples of what high quality sounds like, and it's pretty impressive. So maybe my horrendous voice will come out a little more Frank Sinatra-esque,
Yeah. I mean, if you think your voice is bad, you should hear some of mine. Like I read back and I feel like I owe people money because I assaulted their ears so much. But like what Shoreline said, like it may sound nice and professional from your guys' end, but the amount of tweaking and editing on Shoreline's part to the get it done kind of rigging we had to do to get this podcast going, you'd be like, I can't believe it sounds as good as it does. So you can imagine when we got gear that's prime grade, or even choice, it'd just be such a vast improvement over the rigging system.
Monumental improvement in quality of sound and delivery unto the listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing that we want to invest in is further merch development, and also trying to get some discount codes for you guys, as far as trying to get our name out there, and being a place where people want to come and advertise, and being able to get you guys some discount codes. That is something that we can do once we are able to have the time and money to kind of commit to that. And that's something that we definitely hope to do soon.
Absolutely. And like what Shoreline has mentioned, all this stuff is geared for you, the listeners, so you can continue supporting us, and so we can get out more stuff for you, and then you get something out of it too. Either be information, either be a laugh, that one pick me up of the day, or some form of merch or discount, something to that effect.
Yeah, for the patrons, you've invested in us, and we're trying to give back by investing something in you, or being able to at least provide a service for you.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if you guys had any sort of last thoughts for our listeners out there, and we also want to wish a happy holidays to everybody, because this is around the time that would be coming out.
Yeah, happy and safe holidays. God knows where this COVID thing is going to still be at that point, but hopefully it's on its way out, or at least people will be able to travel and spend time with their families, and have some sort of a normal sense of a holiday season, right? So again, happy and safe holidays. Hope you're able to get with family. Once again, big thanks for all your support and getting us to over 1,000 likes. And maybe by the time this is even released to the public, maybe we'll be doing another one for 2,000 likes. I mean, that's the goal. And with your added support, I know we'll get there. Added and continued support, I should say.
Yes, very much so. Again, thank you all for the support. Happy holidays. And for patrons, I mean, please share our podcast, share our Patreon, share our social handles, all of that, so we can hit those goals that we have set for ourselves, and so we can get those we want set for you. Like Patreon guys, you guys know the website. For those of you who are tuning in to our holiday release, there's patreon.com/cancel for maintenance. All of you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Cancel for Maintenance for Facebook, and then Canx, CANX for maintenance on Instagram. Check out all our merch at cancelformaintenance.com. All produced by a small business and veteran-owned small businesses like Ridley Designs, Trash Panda Tactical, Southpaw Laser Concepts, and so forth. The list goes on. I would spend like 20 minutes just listing them off. And like, share, subscribe. If you listen on Apple or iHeartRadio, please leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing, what we can do to add more content, some ideas, topics. Also send us a line on our website on the contact us section. If you have a story you want to share, or if you want to be a guest, send us those lines, and then we'll do what we can to put it on the show or bonus episodes like this, and bring you the guest on the show, and we can share some stories and some learning points that way. Again, thank you everyone for all your support, for listening to us, getting us to 1,000 downloads. Hopefully, again, like everyone said, we can do this again at 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, and so forth.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Get after it.